Let me have a look through some of these. Thanks, guys, for filling these in. I will have to take a few minutes to read them. Okay, we have the first one is for Sylvie. Can the Jambox be used as a Chromebox? I.e., can you conduct an AV meeting on the hardware? So can you
say that again?
Can the Jambox be used as a Chromebox? So, i.e., can you just use it for video conferencing if you wanted to?
So that's an interesting question. So use.
Mic on?
Yeah,
this okay.
So use it as a Chromebox. We have, so right now it's integrated. I'll show you, actually. I'll show you.
You just don't like sitting down.
No. So right now, as you see, if I join a meeting, just to be very specific here.
Yeah.
Fictive meeting, we hope that there's nobody on the other side. That hasn't happened to me yet. So I've joined a meeting, and here's my video conferencing window. At this stage, this is the size of the window that's available. So it means that from here, right now, I'm presenting to meeting, but I can also deactivate that, and I can activate the camera. If I activate the camera, you see the camera is here. I won't activate the microphone because it will make really loud noise, but I can also activate the microphone, which is here under. So this is what we have today in video conferencing available. So that means that it works perfectly in a scenario where I'm 2 or 3 people around the board. You will see that the camera will cap about this scope here, and the microphone also will cap close to the board. In a meeting room configuration, so we're talking from 4 to 8 people, if to have an optimal video conferencing experience, I will not need to pair the Jamboard with the Hangouts Meet video conferencing kit. And then I will have full capability. And the way what I can do today as well is pair them in the admin console so that when I walk into the room, instead of having to manually join the meeting here as I did with the code, I'll just tap on the Mimo touchscreen and say join meeting, and it will ping the board to join in. That said, we've had a lot of customers asking for a full screen capacity for video conferencing on the board. That's something that's coming next year, to be available next year, where you'll be able to have Hangouts full screen. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. That's great. Okay, next one we have is for Larry and Dave. How complex was it for non-IT literate people to move to G Suite? And this is for the two of you guys. I don't know who wants to take that first.
Well, 90%, 99% of your people are non-IT. If anything, it was easier for them. It was browser-based, so they didn't have to be messing around with a client and a different client maybe if they went home. So
you mean like an email client? Like
sorry, what did I say? Sorry, I mean an email client. And again, from our perspective of supporting it, we were anxious to move away from Outlook Express, and then they moved to Outlook, and then Thunderbird came into the equation, and there was a few guys with Macs had whatever the hell they were using on that. So it just standardized it. If you had internet connection and you had a browser, you had access to your email.
And you guys provided training for all your users, you were saying?
Yeah. I skipped over a whole migration project that we did, but we did it, but we got tools from our Google partners to allow us to migrate up all, so that when people came into Google first, all of their old emails were there, all of their contacts were there, and we brought them up and we gave them training, 10 people in a room training. But as I say, that's why we went with the email-only solution first, because we didn't want to go training them and confusing them and say, oh, you can collaborate here, no, you can do a hangout there. It was just fry their brains. So we just brought them up, showed them how to use email. You log in, you launch your browser, there's your email. Show them things around filtering, show them search on its own is worth its weight in gold. There's no people, in Outlook, I can't remember back to it, but you'd have folders, this is this contract and this is this supplier and this.
You just Google your inbox.
Just Google it. I know I got a mail from Finton. I know it was in 2016. I know it had an attachment. You can filter. And eventually just show me all the emails from Finton in 2017 with an attachment that referenced the word summit. There they are. That type of training. But it was very short.
Exactly that. And I would add that from our scenario, it was so straightforward that somebody without IT or not from IT was able to lead the thing. So
Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Even me. We were literally doing it without IT. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that says it all. Do you know what I mean? I think that was an interesting one. The person's asked a follow-up question. How many cloud projects have you completed since? And that was for the two of you guys again.
Well, as I said in my pitch there, we've moved our editor, and we were spoiled a small bit because Gmail was really built for the cloud. When you go moving something like your editorial system, as I say, the users are emboldened in the middle. Oh, we'll put that there. But it was a slightly different solution. You know, it was sitting in a physical data center in Frankfurt, and it unearthed a load of connectivity problems. Of course, the vendor will tell you once you have a browser, you're there and you're accessing it. That wasn't the case, and it just brought connectivity issues. But the answer to this question is, as I said, advertising, editorial, payroll, help desk. We have put all those to the cloud since.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't even view it as being separate projects. Everything is just, we have moved now everything to the cloud, and our CRM and all the rest of it is.
You wouldn't really
cloud-based.
consider putting something on a server now. That would seem kind of strange.
Jesus, no, a step back, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we had.
I'm going to take that as a quote. Jesus, no.
Yeah. We had a flood in our comms room recently. The boiler is basically on an attached wall, and it came through, and now the server wasn't damaged. It was on the other side of the room, so it was fine. But that's how easily things can be destroyed. So I just wouldn't go back to that scenario where you even have to worry about those kind of things.
Those kind of concerns.
Actually, in terms of slightly different projects, or finance, because finance are finance, and they're a bit funny, and even just the guy on it is quite old school, and he really doesn't want to change things. So he wanted 100% assurances that there'd be no crossover, and he wouldn't trust Drive. So he now uses Dropbox for his, and that there's no comparison in terms of the collaboration and all that. He just wants a cloud-based storage facility that is not going to cross over at any point with Drive, and that's how he's calculated it. At some point, he may need to retire before we get sort of them to accept that there is actually security between them. But yeah.
Yeah, and you will always have those challenging users. Do you know what I mean? That you have to work with.
But he has made that leap in faith in that he will
at least use the cloud. Yeah. Well, you're wearing them down. Yeah. I do have more questions in here, but I do also want to open up to the audience. I believe we've got a question at the back there. Maybe you could let us know the organisation you're from as well.
My name's Adrian. I'm from Ferroiga. We've moved over to we're a youth work organisation, one of Ireland's leading youth work organisations. So we've about 450 staff, and they're all on G Suite, and we've been on G Suite since about 2010. And one of the things that we're constantly battling up against isn't really about Gmail. I think Gmail was an absolute win in terms of the organisation. I think it absolutely, and we moved for more or less the same reasons that you did in the Examiner, which was, do we upgrade this? The cost of the overhead on maintaining this is lunacy. Gmail seems like a good solution. It's been an absolute win. The problems for our staff and problems for us is in communicating how to use Drive effectively. So they're still confused about where are our files, especially if somebody's shared something with them and they haven't put it into their Drive, and finding all that. But one of the features that was in Drive previously was the search from the Drive web page is better than searching from Windows. So if you want, we're saying to staff, if you want to find a file that you're working on, go to the Drive web page. Go into the Drive web page, and you can search by who owns it. Well, loads of features there that you can't just from Windows. Great. But if they're using Word and Excel, which our staff still have to do anyway, because
for various reasons,
there used to be a function where you could right-click on the file on the Drive web page, and you could open up Word and Excel. Open up that Word and Excel document directly from Word and Excel.
Yeah, there's an add-on. Is that your question?
That is. Well, I suppose it's more of a statement, which is actually the move to the cloud was the difficulty for us is actually communicating the training aspect of that to our staff effectively. So if you move to the cloud, it's a technical win, but there's an overhead in terms of training your staff.
Absolutely, and we would say the change management is key. Do you know what I mean? And the discussions we would have had when you guys moved over. Ferroiga is a customer of ours.
There you go.
And that's definitely a huge part of a project. And what's been interesting for us as a Google partner over the last 10 years is that when Google started this journey and we started as a reseller with them, the part of the project, there was this little pie chart, and it was project management, and it was the technical side, and the change management used to be quite small, and we've seen that grow over the years as Google has learned and we have learned. That the change management is key to the success of the project. You can tick all the technical boxes, but if you don't bring the employees along with you, then the project will fail. And so that's been a learning curve for all of us. And change management is now 35 to 40% of a project. Coming back to your question, and it's an interesting one. and particularly with yourselves, Dave, that you guys use the Drive file stream tool now, and that's a new tool that's been launched recently, and as Dave said, allows you to sort of still use the desktop and sync the tools down, and it's called the Drive file stream tool because it doesn't sync all of your documents down. It streams down intelligently. He says he can't pronounce the word. Using Google's AI, the actual files and folders that you need. Now, you can right-click and say, I'm going to be on a train or a plane, I need this particular folder offline. But you can just use the system and it will sort of front-load the data that you need. So that could be a very good solution for you guys. And also that paired with team drives gives you that control. So you don't have for those of you that aren't aware, my drive within Google was a very distributed file system, and so any user could create any file or folder. And the challenge then is when that user leaves the organization, who owns those files, who owns the folder and the documents within it. With team drives, the team drive owns the folder. And so that's the key difference. And this was team drive is a new feature, I think was launched last year, and it has really come into its own. We've seen fantastic feature updates, and it gives IT that control over the files. It creates that sort of file server in the cloud, while giving employees the ability just to, as Dave said, just to sort of click on a document and it opens Excel or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I would add that the big gain on that, because we were obviously using its predecessor, whose name escapes me. I tried to remember.
It was just like the Drive sync tool, I think, and it's been changed to backup.
It actually pulled down all the files that were in your drive. And this ate up a lot of data because, for various reasons, people will have shared, randomly shared
terabyte or something.
The top level folder in order to get you access to kind of a handful of small things. I also would have access to kind of all the projects just for various reasons to access specific details or whatever, but I never need them on a daily basis, but randomly I might need something. And this is the perfect solution to that. So all you're getting is links. It's only a couple of kilobytes, the file size.
Great.
Yeah, but it allows us to have cheaper tech. So we can buy the 256 gig version of something instead of needing something with a terabyte hard drive,
It just
and you
the
can
storage
buy much
is
better
just
quality
free.
tech, but with lower capacity, and just have that access.
Yeah, it's interesting from a personal point of view. I do a lot of videography and photography personally, and very quickly for me, 3 or 4 years ago, I was sort of buying extra hard drives and having to like back stuff up and back my a backup of a backup, and then Google Photos sort of was launched as a separate product, and with Google Drive and Team Drive, I now just throw all my photos into my file stream. It syncs them up. And then when I'm finished with it, if I don't need that video anymore, it's like the original file. I just delete it off my computer. I just say I don't need that on my computer anymore, and it frees up that space then. And so I now have loads of free space on my laptop because all my stuff's in the cloud.
And we've completely stopped talking about storage and things as well.
I know, yeah.
Where you're going, don't be downloading stuff. It's just like whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing with G Suite Business, unlimited storage. So
I mean, the biggest win for us actually was in all of those things were positives, and even the way the client works on Windows is much better than the previous Google Drive client, but the biggest win actually was in terms of offboarding employees. So when they leave, where do their files go? So they leave, they've got files in my drive. Is it organized? Certainly not. Is it important? Who can say? So we're transferring it over to the manager who's looking at it going, what are we supposed to do with this? And we're saying, well, as long as it's not IT's concerned, off you go. You do whatever you want to do with it. And essentially, causing problems for the managers and washing our hands of it altogether. Whereas Team Drive, because once the files are in Team Drive, they're owned by the Team Drive itself.
It's taking it out of the individual users.
But if I can request anything, that right click to open up in Microsoft Word and Excel, which was a feature of the old Drive client and then got retired, and I do see new features coming back into the Drive file stream.
There is an add-on from a company called Aodocs, which is another Google partner, that actually allows that, and it's a free add-on.
I was looking at that, and it didn't seem to quite exactly do what the old client did. But and the only reason I'm raising it here is there does seem to be features that were in the old client that when Drive file stream launched were missing, and have come back in. So the ability to right-click in Windows and share directly from there has come back.
Yes, yeah. I mean, on Drive file stream, I actually talked to the product manager for that a couple of months back, and there's way more stuff coming. So you never know.
So mark me down for that anyway.
Cool. I think this gentleman has a question here. If we could just get a microphone over to you. Simon's coming around there.
Yeah, I'm Paul from the Office of Public Works. It's more a question for Dave. just in relation to the heat map, which I found quite interesting. It's a simple question. The level of detail, I know you're using it for project work at the moment, the level of detail that you need for...
So literally it's just pulling in whatever information we've already put into our CRM system. So you can dictate it within that how many, what columns you're going to pull across, and it will pull across as much as you want. It's just an Excel file, so it's whatever you're having in the cell on that.
And you were uploading the CSV.
Yeah. As long as it's the way you're whatever way you're splicing and dicing the information within your CRM, that's what you can pull in there. So it's however sort of detailed or granular you want to get. It pulls across. It's like I suppose the technology behind it is simple. It's a question like all CRM of the quality of stuff that you're putting into it that you pull out there. So yeah, and I from memory, I think once you can set exactly what highlights will come up as information on that map.
It was able to do it just on address. You didn't have to put in Google coordinates.
No. With some of the projects were actually, because of where we had gotten them from, they come with the coordinates. So it just worked, yeah.
I'm just going to take one question from here just to make sure the people put stuff in the box, and then I'll come to yourself afterwards if that's okay. So this one's around Chrome. So does Chrome link with G Suite Administrative Console? For example, can you provision the Chrome setup as a standard when a new employee signs in? So it was kind of yourself, Larry, that had the Chrome setup. And I think it's an interesting one, Chrome. Do you know what I mean?
Yes is the answer. And as I said, we missed the trick when we did it initially. We just, any device, anywhere, so they were using Internet Explorer, we were using Firefox, and we just found that, yes, if they were using Chrome, it was more so when they left the office, that the whole experience. What I'm slightly confused of, and I don't want to mislead people, is we kind of control, there's a lot of controls that you can do inside in the G Suite Admin Center, but we've added to that by controlling certain things through Microsoft Active Directory GPOs.
As well, yeah.
So in my own head, we'd have done it a couple of years ago. So in my own head, if I said if we were controlling that, I mean, you'd say, did we control that from G Suite or did we control it from Active Directory Group Policy Objects? But there's a whole raft of controls that you can, obviously the ones that you apply through Active Directory Group Policy Objects won't roll out if the user's not on Active Directory, if he's at home. But the bulk of the controls, basically they're shortcuts and they're, their favorites, and they're like the launch pad that we showed you, where people just tend to go and live, is a Google site. So anywhere that they have Chrome and they can just log in, that Google site comes up and then they can launch their individual apps.
And you can actually control what users can do from Chrome as well. There's actually a Chrome Enterprise license that you can buy for managing stuff like Chrome devices and just any device that has Chrome on it. So if a user signs into Chrome, you can actually sort of restrict what they're able to do. My Pixelbook that I was showing you guys earlier on is managed, so I can download apps on the Play Store, but I can only download approved apps. So you can do quite a bit with the Chrome management, and it tends to be something that customers maybe do at a later date. But it's very, very interesting.
One of the other things that comes up as well is that there's a whole raft of tools that you wouldn't be aware of. And Dave mentioned it, you're only scratching. So there's a whole mobile device management tool inside there that we've only since no, I don't know how good the tool is, but we
use that. It's very good. Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that if you look at it now, you say, that's pretty basic and it doesn't do. You could look at it in 6 weeks' time, and there's a whole raft of changes that Google have just pushed out to you that you weren't aware of. There's tools there that you could dismiss a year ago, and you go back in and say, oh geez, they've improved that drastically. If there's an early adopter program, Fintan, isn't there, that you can sign up for?
There is,
you are made aware of them. The users might be, but we as admins, we would be, and you say, so we're starting to use, with the whole GDPR, the advent of GDPR, we're starting to use that as a kind of a basic mobile device management. We started using the G Suite for that, whether it's the tool we end up using, but it's there and it's free. So again, to tick a box for GDPR, we said, do you, and you can go down, but there's a whole debate about whether it's a company-owned device and whether it's a personal device. But you can, if they sign into it, you can actually wipe to the remote device. So that's a tool that's there as well, free of charge, if you like.
I'm concerned about time because we said we finish at 12:30. If people are okay, we'll go to maybe 1:45 because I can see there's a lot more questions in the room. Obviously, if people need to leave, you're not tied to the seats. You're welcome to. We have a question here from this gentleman, and I think this lady here, Kat, if you could, the lady in the purple, if you could get her microphone. Go on. Maybe you just let us know where you're from as well.
Okay.
No, it's yourself first. Go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Usman. I'm a business development manager from Payment
Hold the
Sense.
mic a little bit closer, thanks.
Yeah, I'm a business development manager from Payment Sense.
Okay.
And my question is, with the issue of security and privacy, you know, with the G Suite in cooperation with the Jamboard, like what guarantee do customers that sign up, companies, sign up with the Jamboard and the G Suite, like what guarantee do they have of their privacy and security, their files not being sold to other third-party companies to be used? Because I think that's one issue that needs to be clear.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a really good question, and as we'd said at the start, security is always something that comes up. I think you can talk about Jamboard afterwards, but in terms of G Suite, you know, we would see security and privacy as two separate topics, probably under the same umbrella, and you know, Google would be you know, have all of the ISO certifications and have been approved by many secure third parties around the security piece, and there's a huge amount of security white papers. Google is considered one of the most secure places in the world to put your data. And then the privacy piece, I think there's a huge misconception between the kind of free version of a product, and this isn't just Gmail. You know, they always say if you're not buying the product, you are the product. And from a privacy point of view, you're paying for G Suite. So whether it's G Suite Basic, Business, or Enterprise, all of that data, and you actually have an SLA, a service level agreement with Google that stipulates all of the data is yours. Google cannot see or have any ownership over any information or data that you create within the Google environment. So whether that's documents or jams or whatever it is, Google can't see it. It's encrypted, as some of the guys were saying in their talks. And so, you know, it's definitely a topic that comes up with people, but it is that conflating of what is the sort of state within a personal Gmail account or Google account, and what is the case with a business account. And it's important to know that this is the business edition that we're talking about. Does that answer your question?
Like businesses, sorry.
Just
it does a little bit, but what you're trying to tell me is that businesses are safe if they use the G Suite because it has a different agreement.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it has a service level agreement, which you can look at online. We can make sure we maybe send the links to that afterwards.
That's for the G Suite. What if for the Jamboard?
The Jamboard is a core service of G Suite, so same applies. For
the same SLA.
It's been registered core
I was
service.
unsure about that.
Yeah, 1 year ago, November last year.
So it's completely safe for all data.
Yep.
All right.
You see all of your contracts on your admin panel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have all of the contracts with Google, with the SLA, with the data protection.
And Google would have updated theirs in May. I remember sending them out to all you guys to sign the update for the GDPR.
With the whole GDPR thing, there's a whole controller and processor thing, and I was involved in our own GDPR, and you basically have to go to any supplier that's processing potential PII.
Yeah.
But again, Google were proactive in that. They sent out these DPAs.
A year before Google were talking about
addendum.
the GDPR.
So that, again, that was one supplier that I didn't have to chase. It was there in place, a DPA, and it was it made that component GDPR
easier.
compliant.
Yeah,
whereas you could be chasing, you know, a small company that might be supplying some expenses of payroll system. They have very private information, and to try to get a DPA from them. Now, in fairness to them, they haven't got a whole legal team behind them like Google had. But there is still some workflows that we have not got DPAs issued to us for, whereas Google were, again, ahead of the curve. They were before the 25th of May, they had their DPAs out to us, and we were signed up. So that was a whole component that was GDPR compliant, ticked.
That's very good. It seems Google are ahead of the timeline.
They are, yeah. And there's huge amount of white papers and stuff on this. There's a whole, if you just Google G Suite security, there's a whole security website that Google have built to try and alleviate these fears and stuff like that people have. I'm conscious of time again, so I do want to move on to this lady's question. Maybe just let us know where you're from.
Hello, everyone. My name is Svetlina, and I work in the Innovation Lab of Optum United Health Group. So I have two questions. My first question is in regards to searching into documents and document management. My understanding is that the search is actually searching into the document content, not simply the titles.
Yeah.
Does this search include unstructured data? For example, if I have an image of a scanned document, will I be able to search and find matches with this document? Is there optical character recognition?
There is, yeah. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in, but I can answer that. Yeah, there's optical character recognition within Google, and what's fantastic about that is, as you say, you can just upload an image of a document with text in it, and after a period of time, then that document becomes searchable, which is very, very powerful for certain organizations that maybe have a lot of images or PDFs where they need to search, as you say, within documents, and you can get very, very specific. So you can say, I only want to search documents from a particular person or in a particular team drive with this particular criteria. I only want to search PDFs or images. And interestingly, Google Photos is an often sort of forgotten about part of G Suite business anyway, and a lot of people use it personally. And I use it for both personal and consumer use. And we've customers who would take photos, like say an organization like Dave's might be out on site and they have to take a lot of photos. They use Google Photos to upload all of the data, and the AI or machine learning in Google Photos actually will recognize things like images of dogs and people, and it does facial recognition and stuff like that. And depending on what you do as an organization, that can be hugely valuable. Show me all the images of buildings, or show me all the images of pets if you're a dog groomer.
Does it search the IPTC header?
Does it search?
Does it search the IPTC header of a picture if you're uploading it?
I'm not sure. You're throwing stuff at me that I don't know.
Sorry. I thought we practiced this one.
I'm not sure on that one. Does that answer your question,
Thank
or did you have
yes,
a follow-up?
and my second question is, does this software understand similarity and relations between documents, and can it, for example, give me a suggestion when a certain document has been updated by a user to give me intelligent suggestion that another document may also need to be updated? Because if this is updated, probably this one has to also be updated. Sometimes, when we manually update, we can forget. We update here, but we don't forget there.
So like similar, not the same document, like a copy of it.
No, different documents that may be similar. For example, contracts, and let's say there is some regulation change, and now all of those contracts need to change, and somebody changes half of them, and there are another half similar contracts that also have to change.
Yeah.
Will it be able to catch that and suggest it to the other people who may be responsible for the second part of the contract?
I haven't seen anything like that out of the box in terms of suggesting it to you. It would certainly be very easy to find those documents because of the Google search built into Google Drive. There are some additional add-ons, like the general audit tool I was talking about earlier on, GAT, which is actually an Irish company, Baker Networks. That will allow you they have some really interesting tools that allow you to sort of audit your Google Drive environment and surface information. And then some add-ons and things like that. I was talking about some of the add-ons within the different products. There's add-ons within Drive as well that allow you to create workflows, so things around contracts and contract management. Very often we would try to get customers, and it is a bit of a shift change in thinking, but to get them to sort of link documents together so that you can actually, if you want, again with some of the free add-ons, link like a Google Sheet and a Google document or two Google documents together, and so then that means you get to a point where you don't have to remember to update those other documents because they're linked together, if that makes sense. So it's a change in thinking because your data is in the cloud. There's much more possibilities.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else got a question from the floor, or will I jump into another one of these? We got a gentleman at the back there. Do you want to get to some of these?
Just a quick question for the guys that have implemented G Suite. It's Jonathan from Arcfire. I'm an IT account manager. How productive have you been since you've implemented G Suite, or have you got any kind of stats of how it's improved productivity within the team?
They're so productive they can just come to these events. I mean, they don't even have to work anymore.
I've been on holidays. I've gone on holidays 3 times since. I don't have any stats, no. But again, the stat I threw up there when I was only guessing that I was spending 20 hours a week, I don't support email as a product anymore, really, and nor do any of my team. Like, it's just there, it works, and it would be rare, something and you'd have to go, as Dave said, you'd Google it yourself, but most we just don't. It's just 20 hours that I gain back into my working life that I could contribute something beneficial to the company as opposed to be firefighting emails. But I don't have stats, sorry.
Yeah, no, likewise. But maybe the best illustration is for the team and their productivity, where about 12 months, well, probably within the first year of or changeover, went to one of the kind of the team leaders in one of our divisions and said, how's it going? I don't hear anything. And he said, if you tried to take this off us now, we'd kill you, So it's just changed things, revolutionized things for them. Like I said, the guys driving back and forth to the office and stuff, you just couldn't go backwards. It would just be nuts. So it's changed people's lives. I mean, that's, in fairness, we're coming from a very old-fashioned setup where people had to do that, but equally.
I would think productivity-wise also, you're getting more from users unknown to themselves, because in our old on-premise email solution, people really only access their mail while they're in the office. Now it's a complete sea change. So even if they're not think they're working, they're sitting at home watching Coronation Street, a mail pings into them, they'll answer it. Do you know that? Yeah. I know I do, which is
for better or worse.
For better or for worse. And a lot of people, their mail's on the whole thing. They might be looking at messages and they see an email, they'll jump in. So you'll gain.
And that's reducing the barriers, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like if they had to log into a VPN on their phone or they take out their laptop, they're not going to do it. No. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you just sit there and you get a ping, you're on the train, you're walking, somewhere. You can actually literally get work done on the go. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference. Oh, it's great. I have two quick Jamboard ones I think you can answer quickly. Do I need a Gmail or Google account to join Jamboard? I think that was kind of answered earlier.
Yeah, a Gmail address would be the minimum required.
And can I connect several Jamboards together? I don't know
yes,
what
we did that earlier.
To create a raft or?
We actually had them connected earlier, so there's just simply a broadcast code that you can generate from one Jamboard. And you can.
So the answer is yes.
Yeah, there is yes.
Cool. And then for maybe for the two lads, what were the kind of biggest challenges of migrating to G Suite in terms of maybe gotchas or things that you hadn't necessarily thought of? Do you know what I mean? That caught you out. Maybe watch points that other organizations, if they're thinking of moving over, should look at.
One thing that caught us slightly is that we had some old legacy applications, but more so bits of hardware. You might have a scanner that wants to scan and it wants to scan it to email. So you'd have some real old device like that could not, for whatever reason, and you could go grey or try to figure out why it could not talk up to Gmail, the Gmail SMTP server. So we actually had to put a little SMTP server locally on our LAN. It was just, I think we fired up a Ubuntu server and put an email client onto it, just for things like that you could, as I say, spend hours. And so that caught us for a while. There was some little application that was sending out, I think it was
its own emails, yeah.
Sending out, but for whatever reason, most things should, but we're just so old and there was no support for them. They just could not talk to smtp.gmail.com effectively. Yeah. So we had to make a small SMTP server on our LAN. That bit us for a while, but again, it's forgotten about now. I'd say there's probably a couple of hundred mails a week going through it, but it's there and it just churns out those. Yeah. That caught us. I can't think of
Dave, any from you?
Ubuntu there, he's talking language I don't even know that. But,
techie not. Well, that's why I had the 2 years. I thought it was a good mix.
But the thing about it, actually, I didn't know what Ubuntu was either, and I googled it. Can't reach Google SMTP server, and some smart guy tells me fire up a Ubuntu. But
well, we had a very similar situation actually, and the printer guys just suggested setting up a specific Gmail account for it, which is what we did. Like an admin account, and now we use it for a whole bunch of other things. We just, whatever, it sucked up was €40 a year or something as a cost on it, and now we use it for a whole bunch of other things. It's ended up being quite a useful thing, but it's like just a workaround. But there was no real issue at all, to be honest.
No. And obviously the way you reduce issues in your migration is get a really good partner. Yeah. We practiced this, Dave. We practiced this. Yeah, shoot. Yeah.
Just, thank you.
Beat me to it.
We had a caveat, and one thing that helped us during the migration was to remember that you don't have to push your users to Gmail immediately. You can have them still use their Outlook or whatever they're using. And one thing that helped us was that we let them use whatever they were using, and then we start training them and actually convincing them to migrate to the web interface. And the best tool that I had to do that was actually tags. People love tags on the emails, and once they saw that, they were sold. So you don't have to push your users. If they're not comfortable migrating, you can have G Suite on the back end, and the IT will collect all the benefits from it. And then, you can like train your users and move them slowly. So there's no shock.
Yeah, there's always a key benefit that sucks people in. That
Exactly. You have to find the selling point. And for us, it was tags. When I show my mailbox with all those colorful tags, people are like, I want that. And then it said you have to use the web interface then. And
that's good. It is about finding that hook with people, and from a change management point of view, that's what we would work with organizations on. Is as you say, Sergio, finding that one thing for that particular team or user that will kind of pull them in. Any other questions from the floor? Yeah.
So I have 2 questions. The first question is, Hangouts, can it integrate with any other video conferencing system?
It can. So we've launched in August interoperability
with PEXIP.
I
remember the name of the company.
So if you want more information on that, I can.
So there's a third-party organization, PEXIP. We actually were chatting with them at Google Next, and we did an interview. We have a YouTube channel on Damson Cloud that we do a new video. I do a new video every week. And we interviewed the team at PEXIP, and they're actually going to be launching a sort of a cloud-based version of their tool soon. So it will allow, or does allow, people on Hangouts and Skype and Cisco and all these other systems to basically connect in. So it's really weird as a Google user.
Seamless experience. They will be in their Cisco environment, but joining a Hangout.
It's really weird. I actually saw it demoed where someone was in a Skype call and someone was in a Hangout, and it's just really strange to see the two work together.
Yeah, and we have partners so across the world and including in Europe who offer that service as a managed service.
Yeah, they're actually launching it now themselves, I think. They just got bought over as a full managed service, which is good.
Okay. Yeah. The second question, email compliance. Like we're a government body, so we have certain regulatory responsibilities.
You've got 1 or 2 regulations that you have to...
Yeah, we have, So we may need to produce emails in court as evidence.
Yeah.
Storing email in Gmail doesn't meet the rules of evidence.
Yeah, so that would be the Google Vault product that I mentioned. It was only on one slide for a minute, so you might have missed it. But the Google Vault product is the archiving solution within Gmail and keeps a copy of all mail in and outside of the organization and chats as well. So you, as the IT team, can actually have control. You can export stuff for legal holds and things like that. And keep the data for as long as you need, or with GDPR now, as short as you need, because now I have to delete the data, not keep it.
Can I add, actually, we had experience of that where we needed to go back and check emails for court, and the time spanned when we were on Google and prior to that.
Oh, no.
And said, I knew about Google Vault, so that wasn't a problem, dug those out. And then we still had the mail server because we didn't throw it out. We wanted to just in case.
What about the flood? Was it not floating around?
No, this was pre-flood, and everything was okay. Don't worry. But actually could not find it on the old system for whatever reason. It was just so much harder. But obviously, every Google product, it's got Google search capability, and Vault just made it so straightforward. It was.
You just export it as Mbox, then you're away.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Mike here, Simon. I'm going to stick with the audience floor questions as long as people want to. So.
Since we're on that topic of email retention and...
Could you just tell us where you're
chat.
from?
Oh, I'm Tori. I'm from Boxever.
Thanks, Tori.
So seeing as people are trying to get away from emails, does chat... Can you search chat? Is that part of Google Cloud Search? Does it keep a transcription? Does chat go into Vault? Are you able to do rooms in chat?
This is one question.
Yeah, I just kind of want to know the best way to communicate. So you had shown if you tag somebody in a document with the and symbol, it'll send them an email notification. Or I know that sometimes you can open up a chat within a document. So I'm just kind of
the chat within a document isn't recorded or remembered. When you close a document, it's forgotten about, as far as I know. Googler can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I don't think I am. Chat within Hangouts is on the record is fully recorded. You can do an off the record chat, but from an admin perspective in the control panel, you can restrict off the record chat so people can't go off the record. If it's a company culture thing, whether you want to kind of allow that. but yeah, everything would be recorded in your Gmail, and everything that's recorded in Gmail is recorded in Vault. So all of those records would be searchable by you, the individual user, and by the administrative or legal team in Vault.
And you can create rooms within.
Rooms for.
Well,
sorry.
we're on HipChat, which is turning into Slack, so I think we're moving to.
Oh, sorry.
Hangouts.
So you're talking about the Hangout chat room. Yeah. So the new version of chat that is launched, but it is available. So it's kind of a new version of Hangout chat. Most people are still on the previous one. We haven't really moved that many customers to it yet because it hasn't kind of gone feature for feature. But it would essentially try to be competing with Slack. So it would do a lot of the same stuff that Slack would do. Does that answer all of those? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anybody else? No. We'll move to one more on here, and then if there's one more from the floor, and then we'll wrap up. So in terms of moving the organizations to the cloud, the change management piece, how did that go for you guys? Obviously, you had the training you already spoke about, but just someone's asked about the kind of change management. Do you guys have to do a lot of communication? I know, Dave, for you guys, you're all in the same location. Maybe it was a bit easier. I don't know who wants to jump in first.
Yeah, no, it was a fairly straightforward process. In fairness, it's 6 years back now. At this stage. It's a little
Hard
bit
to remember,
difficult to remember, yeah. But no, there was nothing standing out as being particularly difficult on it. It was fairly structured and people. Yeah, it was fairly seamless at the end of it. People wanted to move at that stage, so there was an appetite there.
Yeah,
and we were making it as straightforward as could be. You flag it and the usual project sort of structures and telling them what's going to come and what to expect in that. So, yeah, no, it was straightforward, and obviously it's a common thing moving from a Microsoft environment to the G Suite environment. So you're never the first person doing these things, and
yeah, all that documentation was there.
The partner is crucial in terms of kind of bringing that along. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, as I said in my little piece, we did generate a lot of excitement around it, and we did it domain by domain, and we have different offices around the country. So by the time it started going around, we were getting phone calls. Can we get on that? And I'd say, no, you're not. You're further down the project plan. But that's
a great problem to have, isn't it? That people want to be first.
Yeah, but I go back to your point, and sorry I missed your name. That some people are slow to change, and they want like for like. So if they have, as we all probably had back, if they had folder structures, as they say, and you migrate up all their mail, you don't want to take all of those folder structures and land it into one bucket, even though if it was in one bucket, they can find it. But the mentality was there. I need that folder structure. I'm not too sure, did we use labels? I use tags, I don't know, is it the same thing? But for certain users, we had to create all that folder structure for them. But there's a migration tool to do it for them. Other people are happy to, in the training, we say, it's all up there, just search and you'll find it. But certain people did want this whole concept of all their directories, the traditional folders, the traditional folders. So we did that through tags and labels. But I'd be pretty sure now that no one's using them anymore. It was only for the historical stuff to get it up there. Once new mail started coming in, they just realised Google search, find your mail, and away you go.
That's great. We're coming up on one, guys. Any last questions from the audience floor? Will we wrap it up? Oh, nobody wants to be the one holding everyone back. Well, I think I'd just like to finish by thanking all of you guys for coming. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's a huge amount of time out of your day. I hope you found the day beneficial and valuable use of your time. I'd like to thank Dave and Larry for coming up and speaking. I know it's a huge commitment of their time. I saw the presentations being built over the last couple of weeks, so it was a huge amount of effort put in, and I do really, really appreciate that and your time. And to the Google team, to Sylvie and Simon and Kat, and Donal and Sammy, my own colleagues, who helped us out, and Dylan, who's been doing the filming quietly there in the background. So that's it, guys. We'll be around for the next kind of 15, 20 minutes if people want to ask us questions. My business cards are up here if people want to take any of them. You've probably got half a dozen emails from me anyway, so you probably have my contact information. And that's it. I look forward to following up with all of you. We'll share all of the presentations if that's okay with all the speakers. And I'll be sure to maybe share links to any of the discussions and stuff that we had as well. Okay, thanks very much.